description, the two posts, just there on the first page. Mr. Mezzi, can you pull those up? All right, thank you. And so again, Mr. Young, what we're looking at is Andy W., who don't know, is posting about evacuation flights. Do you see that?
Yes.
And you respond, I have access to evac aircraft in Afghanistan. Let me know how I can help, correct?
Correct.
And again, you never evacuated anyone from Afghanistan by aircraft, did you?
That's correct, and that's not what it says.
You said I have access to evac aircraft in Afghanistan, correct?
Exactly, and that's correct.
And you never evacuated anyone by aircraft, did you?
The requirement never came up that
Sir, please, my question is simply, you never evacuated anyone by aircraft? Yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you. And again, with this one, no mention of sponsors, correct?
Correct, and it's in response to a corporate.
Sir, again, my question is, there's no mention of sponsors, yes or no?
That's correct.
There's no mention of corporations, yes or no?
Wasn't required. Yes.
There's no mention of just only if you're an NGO, correct?
Correct.
Mr. Mezzi, if you can take that one down and put up Defense Exhibit 89. Just for the witness, yes, thank you. And Mr. Young, the post actually goes from the first to the second page. So Mr. Mezzi, why don't you show in bold? And if it helps, Mr. Young, I have these in paper form, if that would help. Just let me know. Okay. And do you recognize this as a post by you?
Yes.
Okay, Your Honor, I move for admission of Defense Exhibit 89.
Your Honor, I'm just reviewing. Oh, can you go back to page 1, please? Oh, what page were we on before? Because I was reading that one, and then we switched from it. Oh, can we go back to 2 then, and then I'll read 1? And page 1, please. No objection, Your Honor.
Defense 89 is admitted.
May I publish?
You may.
Thank you. So again, this guy, Andy W., who you don't know, correct?
Correct.
He posts about evacuations, right? I see that?
Yep.
And we don't really need to focus on that, but let's go to the second page. And you respond to his post, correct?
I did.
If you could blow that up, Mr. DeVazza. And you write, seems too much false hope peddling in these channels.
Yeah, there's a typo. Misspelled too.
Even if those wishing to leave have passport and visa, in most cases they will face serious problems from Taliban, which control the outer perimeter of the airport.
That's right.
Even if they somehow manage to pass with a $10,000 bribe, which is standard, most will be turned back because they lack the required docs to go anywhere onward. Do you see that?
I do.
Then you write, unfortunately, we have many quote-unquote quiet professionals wishing to turn a quick profit from this unfortunate situation, marketing and imaginary charters leading nowhere. Do you see that?
I do, and more typos.
Yeah.
Unfortunate.
And what you're saying right there is, unfortunately, we have many quiet professionals wishing to turn a quick profit from this unfortunate situation. You're actually suggesting that this person and other people posting about charters to leave Afghanistan are marketing imaginary charters. That's what you're saying, right?
No, that's not what I said.
I'm looking at your language. You wrote that these many quiet professionals are wishing to turn a quick profit from this unfortunate situation, marketing imaginary charters leading nowhere. And by using the term imaginary charters, you are suggesting on LinkedIn that those people are, I guess, committing fraud or getting people to pay for things that are imaginary, right?
No, that's not what
You're not? What are you saying there?
I think I described it yesterday how
I'm just asking you what you're saying there.
I can read it if you want me to.
I'm asking the simple question.
Your Honor.
What are you saying when you say marketing imaginary charters?
I'm confused. If you want me to read it, I'll read it. If you want me to explain it, I can explain it. But I can't understand what you're asking me to do.
Sure. You can explain what you're writing right there. But this isn't a document that you saw yesterday. So your testimony yesterday, whatever it was, is not relevant to my question about what you're meaning when you write imaginary charters here.
What I mean by imaginary charters are the fact that even though these people had good intentions, it was very difficult to charter an aircraft that would be willing to go to Afghanistan, and even harder to get the clearance to land. So they spent a lot of money doing something that, I use the term imaginary charters, I meant they're real airplanes, but the likelihood of actually landing in Kabul, especially when the Taliban took over the airport, pretty unlikely. So I said imaginary.
And you're saying, unfortunately, we have many quote-unquote flight professionals wishing to turn a quick profit from this unfortunate situation. And the unfortunate situation is the situation in Afghanistan, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And you're saying that these quote-unquote flight professionals are looking to turn a quick profit from the situation in Afghanistan?
I am, but it's more complicated than as you described.
Okay. You go on to say, if you know of anyone truly in harm's way who needs to be outside Afghanistan tomorrow, contact me. This post doesn't mention sponsors, does it?
No, wasn't necessary.
Okay. It doesn't mention corporate clients, does it?
Wasn't necessary.
You wrote, whoever needs to be outside Afghanistan tomorrow. You didn't have the capability to get someone outside of Afghanistan tomorrow, did you?
It always depended on the situation. There was no timeline. It was as the operational environment permits.
Were you able to perform next-day evacuations from Afghanistan?
It would depend on the requirement. I believe that one of them, I don't remember perfectly, but there was one for Hero that was pretty quick compared to the other ones, which took like a week, sometimes two.
Yeah, so my question really is were you able to provide next-day evacuations from Afghanistan?
That was probably an exaggeration, but the time it varied depending on the details.
So the answer is no, you weren't able to provide next-day evacuations from Afghanistan?
It's not a yes or no answer. It's a longer answer.
May I approach your Honor? So if you'd open up to page 781, line 9 through 14. Let me know when you're there.
Which page?
781?
781? And the lines?
Sorry, 1 second. Sorry, 791. I think I said 781.
Okay, 791 in the lines.
Oh, hold on, I'm on the wrong page now. It is 789, 1 through 6. I apologize. 789, 1 through 6.
789-1 is the end of an answer, Mr. Ashford.
Hold on 1 second. I got it here somewhere.
Line 9.
What's that?
I think line 9.
Line 9.
On 789.
Yeah, you're right, Your Honor. There you go. Yes, it's 789, 7 through 12. I see it. All right.
Your Honor, we'd object as improper impeachment. It's consistent with what he just testified to.
Overrule the objection. Go ahead.
All right, so Mr. Young, you remember sitting for a deposition?
Yes.
You swore to tell the truth?
Yes.
You take that seriously?
Very.
You were asked that question. You were asked in that deposition, were you able to perform next-day evacuations from Afghanistan? Did you see that?
Yes.
And what was the answer you gave in your deposition?
I said, no, unfortunately, that was probably way too ambitious.
Thank you. You can put that to the side. Mr. Mez, if we could take that down and put up Plaintiff's Exhibit 94, which is in evidence. And so I think, Mr. Young, this is a document you looked at yesterday. So if you go to the next page of this document, And I think Mr. Friedman asked you about this, and you recalled that this was a message between you and someone on LinkedIn, correct?
Yes.
And these are messages between you and a potential evacuee, correct?
No, not correct.
No?
No.
So this person writes a long email to you, or a long message to you, correct? Talking about needing to get out of Afghanistan?
That's right.
If you go to the next page, Mr. Domesic. And you write, do you have a sponsor able to pay evacuation costs, correct?
Yep, correct.
And he responds, not really, but can't I pay them myself?
That's right.
And you respond 14,000.5 per person, right?
I did, and then I blocked him.
And you provided that price to this person, even though the person explicitly told you that they did not have a sponsor, correct?
Correct.
And you didn't produce this in discovery, correct?
I don't think so, no.
Because you had deleted it, correct?
Correct.
At about the same time you were talking to lawyers about filing this lawsuit, correct?
Yes, I was talking to lawyers.
Now, isn't it true, and something we touched on yesterday, that you had no contacts on the ground in Afghanistan?
No direct contacts. I used a network.
Okay. My question is, did you have any contacts on the ground in Afghanistan?
Not directly.
So that would be a no?
It's a not directly.
If you could turn to page 627 of your deposition. And look at pages 19 through 21.
I see that.
And, Your Honor, may I proceed?
May I just,
Hang on a second.
Sure.
what was the page in line?
It was 627, 19 through 21.
I think it should be 225, though, because I clarified my answer.
Your Honor, I agree with Mr. Young for completeness purposes. I have no problem with him reading it, but he should read until line 25.
I think the portion I selected is dead on. It's the exact same question and the exact same phraseology.
It's just out of context.
Mr. Young, there is no question posed
Mr.
here.
Young, yeah. And talk to me, don't. For purposes of cross, just read 19 through 21. If you want to address the rest, you can.
Thank you. And so, Mr. Young, you were under oath when you were deposed, correct?
Yes.
And you were asked, do you have any contacts on the ground in Afghanistan, correct?
Correct.
What was your answer?
No.
Thank you. You can close that. So, when you start advertising on LinkedIn your evacuations, you contact a guy named Ayuri. I'll just call him Ayuri. You know who I'm talking about, correct?
Yes.
Because you think that Ayuri had contacts in Afghanistan that could help. Is that right?
I knew he did. Yep.
Okay. Now, you had no idea where Ayuri was in the world in 2021, correct?
I wouldn't put it that way.
Okay. Do you know where he was in the summer of 2021, in earlier fall?
No.
So to do these evacuations, you needed this guy Ayuri in his contacts, correct?
That's correct.
And isn't it true that you didn't even know who Ayuri's contacts in Afghanistan were?
I wouldn't put it that way.
Did you know who those connections that Ayuri had were?
I didn't know their names.
Okay. Now, isn't it true that you didn't develop the plan for the evacuations?
I wouldn't put it that way.
Isn't it true that the operators on the ground developed the plans for each of the evacuations?
They did with my oversight.
Because trying to put together an operational plan for some place you're not physically located is a recipe for disaster, correct?
Indeed, very correct.
So you were coordinating the activities from your house in Austria, is that fair?
That's right.
And you were doing this primarily through IURI, correct?
That's right, correct.
You were calling IURI, and IURI was relaying your messages to the operators on the ground?
Not in every case.
But in most cases?
In most
right?
cases.
And you don't even know if IURI was ever in Afghanistan, correct?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know.
So fair to say that you had no direct knowledge of what the conditions on the ground in Afghanistan in the fall of 2021 actually were, correct?
It depends what you mean by direct.
I mean, you weren't there.
I
right?
wasn't there, yep.
Everything you were getting was either second or even third hand, right?
That's right, correct.
And I think you said this, but you didn't even know the names of the people on the ground in Afghanistan, correct?
That's right, need to know.
Right. The only person, I think in your deposition you testified that you knew one name and you think it might have been Abbas, correct?
Yep, that's right. Well, that's the name that he used. Whether or not that was actually his name, I don't know.
And so, yeah, you said this need to know thing, and I was interested in that. You said you didn't need to know the names of the people on the ground because of this need to know concept, correct?
That's right.
And then you also said that after each of these evacuations that you sanitized your communications afterwards, correct?
Correct.
And that's a fancy word for deleting, right?
It's not fancy, it's just operationally sound.
It's a synonym, right?
Can you repeat the question?
I can move on.
Okay.
It's not really that
I'm
interesting.
getting confused.
I guess it's your testimony that you were deleting your communications on your phone. Would they be on your phone or on your computer?
Phone.
Okay. You were deleting your communications on your phone in Austria because you were concerned that someone would gain access to your phone in Austria such that it could imperil people in Afghanistan?
I wouldn't word it that way, no.
Okay. Let's be totally clear about this. You never were in Afghanistan, correct?
That's right.
And you never left Austria, correct?
That's right.
In this time period.
Yes.
So you were deleting things off of your phone out of the concern that someone could have gained access to it in Austria, correct?
No, that's not. It's a more complicated answer. I'm happy to explain.
It's okay, I think we got it.
Okay.
So you did, I think, I'll just ask this, you didn't find out the names of the people on the ground in Afghanistan because it was too risky for them?
No, that's not how I would word that.
How would you word it?
This is part of the need to know thing. So Yuri is taking a lot of trust and even involving me in contacting group chats with these operators. So if I went to Yuri saying, hey, I need to know the names of these guys, just from a business context, it looks like I'm trying to find a way to go around him, which would be totally unprofessional. But from an operational standpoint, these are people that are actually putting their lives in harm's way. So the more people that know their names, just in general, the more risky it is. So this is a concept. It's not just in the evacuations and the work I was doing with the U.S. government. The need to know always applies.
Yeah, we're not focused on the U.S. government. We're focused on Afghanistan because that's what you were talking about, right?
But the same principles still apply.
Okay, but I want to focus on Afghanistan.
Okay.
You said first, there's a lot in that answer, that you didn't want to get the names of the people on the ground because you thought that would cause Yuri to think that you would go around him?
from a business perspective, that's a realistic concern.
Right.
It erodes
So
trust.
this was your trusted compadre?
Yeah.
And you thought there was a fear that by you getting the names of the people, you thought that he might think you were working around him?
Right,
And that was
because-
one of the reasons you didn't get his names? the names.
Because there's no need for me to know the names.
Okay. And then the second part, I think you said, was it would be incredibly risky for the names of those people to get out, right?
It would create unnecessary risk, is a better way to put it.
Well, let's look. I might have gotten it wrong.
I might have explained it poorly before, but that's the way it
You
works.
said, I don't think you said incredibly risky. I got that wrong. You said from an operational standpoint, these are people that are actually putting their lives in harm's way. Why were they putting their lives in harm's way?
Because they were conducting these tremendously risky evacuations from a war zone. It's dangerous.
Why were they tremendously risky?
You want me to go through the conditions in Afghanistan again?
I mean, I'll try to summarize for you and tell me if I got it right.
Okay.
They were tremendously risky, right? Because the Taliban was hunting people, right?
That's right.
Right. And the Taliban wasn't letting people leave, right?
Some people, a lot of people, correct.
And so if you were one of these people on the ground who was covertly helping people get out of Afghanistan, it could be risky for you, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
Right. You needed to keep it secret, right? The secret is possible.
Yeah, you could use that word, keep it secret.
Right. Try to do things covertly, right?
Yep, we used the word clandestine, I think. before.
Not out in the open.
That's right.
Underground, right?
I
Honor,
didn't use that word.
objection. May we approach? Or I can just tell you, I'm worried about what we discussed yesterday. We're getting real close to it.
Well, talked about it yesterday.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
And then the third thing was, so I think what you're saying is that you're suggesting that it would have been potentially risky for these people in Afghanistan for you to know their names in Austria. Do I have that right?
It creates unnecessary risk for anybody who doesn't need to know who they are to know who they are. It's just unnecessary. It's not specific to me in Austria. It's just
Right. But what I think you're saying is that it would have been an additional unnecessary risk for you sitting in Austria to know these people's names.
it creates unnecessary risk for the operational integrity of what we're doing for the people on the ground, for my corporate clients who have.
Sir, I'm not
It's a
asking about the
complicated
corporate. I'm just asking you about the
Objection,
people.
Your Honor, he's in the middle of talking.
Let him answer the question.
Okay, I will. So I'm just
Go
asking.
back and rephrase it and start a question again.
Sure. I'm just asking, Mr. Young, you're talking about the risk to the people who are working on the ground in Afghanistan. And I'm asking you, would it have been an unnecessary risk for you sitting in Austria to have those people's names?
Correct, yes.
It would have been.
It would have been.
Because there was some possibility that someone would get your phone in Vienna, Austria, and find out who these people were in Afghanistan?
No, I wouldn't put it that way at all.
So what was the risk?
The risk, I'm trying to explain it. It's you're risking operational integrity when you have names of people that you don't need to know, or the details of the movement. The more widely disseminated that is, the more people that know about it. It risks the people, the passengers, the operators. It risks the model itself, because if somebody is monitoring those communications or gets into your phone remotely, I'm explaining. Is this okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so if somebody's monitoring that stuff, you're not going to know about it, but the next time you use it, you know, maybe you inadvertently reveal the identity of the operators on the ground. So they start to get monitored, they get to put under surveillance. It makes the whole thing way more risky from an operational standpoint.
So you were concerned that somebody could be monitoring your phone in Vienna, Austria?
That wasn't my specific concern, no.
Isn't it true?
Norman Brandt, MSc, Director of Intelligence at InSciTech GmbH. Anyone who's thinking of engaging with this guy should definitely do some research. CNN has already exposed him as being a total con artist, so this is a scam. Here is the CNN article. Below that, is that a link to the article?
It is.
All right. Thank you, Corey. Zach, do you understand that in this litigation you're seeking pain and suffering damages?
Yes.
And you're seeking damages for embarrassment
Yes.
and humiliation?
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
I talked yesterday about how I've been able to get back up every time I've been knocked down, and the SEAL training stuff, and I'm sure there's been many, many other times. I've always been very proud of that quality, and it's just part of my DNA that you don't quit and you don't stop. And every time I failed, I tried to learn from it. I think failure is one of the best teachers. And for the majority of my adult life, I was always able to bounce back, even from pretty horrible things. I went through extensive training to test my tenacity, my mental toughness, and I always came out at the very top. And this is something different, though. I've never had my life wrecked. I've never not been able to not been able to tell what tomorrow looks like. But I'm not the same person that my wife married. She's never had to worry about anything. She's always known that I'm a provider, and I always will be. My mom, the same. So to do it to me is one thing, and to do it to my family, just
Objection. That's not an issue in this case.
Please continue.
the hardest part has just been I know I'm not the same man that I was. I know I'm not the same person my wife married, and I'm humiliated about that. We had many conversations with her about what happens in 3 years, what happens in 5 years. You know, are we going to move back to the U.S.? Am I going to try to get a job at any job I can find? She's still in school in Austria. She's working on her master's degree, and I'm not able to look her in the eye and tell her, you know, it's going to work out here, a place where we've lived and we've built a home. And then just the idea that these people, like Matt Gunning and all the names I showed you yesterday, that they don't want to even have anything to do with me anymore.
Objection.
And I'll sustain it to the extent it may be considered hearsay of comments they may have made, but if there's a different way, you can
Zach,
ask a question differently.
for the rest of this, I want you to tell me about the way you feel. Not all of your testimony should be about how you feel, not what other people told you.
Yep.
To the extent it's what other people told you, or it's how it made you feel. Focus on that. At least tell me that.
I feel like a total failure. I've had, you know, some time now to try to recover. I've been in psychotherapy. I've been put on medication, multiple medications. Initially on antidepressants. Wasn't enough. Still couldn't sleep. Still can't sleep. Still have panic attacks. So they had to put me on stronger medication and put on stronger medicine for sleep and panic attacks. They all have side effects. I don't have the energy that I had before. It's affected our intimacy. it's affected the intimacy that I've had with my wife that we've known. Because my libido's completely gone. And I don't know if it's the trauma or the medicine or both. It's hard to separate it. But my wife has been very, very understanding. But I've been the rock. I've always been the rock. And I'm not the rock that she married. I'm not the one that has the stability. And I have to lean on her for that. And it shouldn't be that way. And my wife's had to make a lot of. She's been tremendously supportive throughout this experience. It's been horrible for both of us. And I just feel ashamed that I'm asking her to continue to try to accept me for the way I am now, which isn't the way I was before. I went through a long period where this is right after it happened, where I just stopped taking care of myself. I didn't even notice. She'd have to point it out that I was wearing the same clothes for like 3 or 4 days at a time, and I wasn't using deodorant. I wasn't using deodorant. I wasn't showering. I didn't even know, and we used to do a lot more things together, and the energy is just gone. We never go out for walks in the woods. We never travel. She just had to make a lot of accommodations that she shouldn't have to, and that's been the hardest part for me. And then with my mom, I support her for the majority, and I have for decades. And there is an end to that at some point, and I don't know what it looks like. And I still try to keep her assured that it's going to be okay, and lying to her. I don't know that anymore. I don't know it's going to be okay. Just telling her what she wants to hear, and that's hard for me to do. But I try to tell myself it's going to be okay too. Maybe in 3 or 4 years, everything changes, and I wake up from this thing that was a bad nightmare. I don't believe myself. Once something like this happens, it's forever. It's permanent. It doesn't go away. I feel like I've just been completely destroyed and embarrassed and emasculated in public all over the world. And now my family is still trying to work through that with me, and they've all been very supportive. Matt's still here, my brother. My wife, I hope that her mother, we can find somebody to help out with her next week, and she can be out as well. She wants to be here. But she's been through so much already, you know.
Why isn't she testifying?
I would never put her through what I've had to go through. She's been through it enough with me, so no, she hasn't testified, and I would never put her through that, considering what she's gone through already.
Zach, have you seen doctors to try to get some of this under control?
I have, yeah. It took a while. The medical system's a bit different in Austria. It's socialized, so things take longer. But it took about 2 months before I was able to see a psychiatrist. It's actually considered short for Austria, but I was able to finally start seeing a psychiatrist and was put on medication and weekly psychotherapy. I'm still in psychotherapy. But it's not something that's improving or getting better. It's just this is what I need to continue to get by. That's my life.
General, we have no further questions.
Russell.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Who's this guy?
That's Alexander Marcard from CNN.
He the main architect of the story?
He is.
Scroll down. November 10th. We're one day before what?
One day before they went live and published the video.
CNN say anything to you in the week that transpired?
No, it was completely silenced.
Can we scroll down for a little bit, Corey, just see the bottom?
Yeah, that came from me.
Local time in Vienna, right?
That's correct. It was 8:42.
What time you go to bed?
It varies, but sometimes earlier, sometimes a bit later.
Did you get this message before you went to sleep?
I doubt it.
Do you remember if you got it before you went to sleep?
I don't remember day by day. I mean, it was a long time ago. But if somebody writes me at 8:42 at night, chances are I'm offline, either asleep or winding down.
Do you have a memory of getting something from a CNN reporter and then putting your phone down, going to sleep?
No, I mean, that would be crazy.
Okay. Hi, Zachary. Are you there? This is Alexander Marcard. Alex Marcard from CNN. I know you've been speaking with a colleague of mine. I tried calling you last week, but you did not pick up. Did you get a call from Mr. Marcard?
No,
Did you get a voicemail from Mr. Marcard?
no,
We're going to be running a piece in which we detail your interaction. Scroll up for 1 second. Does Signal show missed calls?
it does.
Is there a missed call here?
No, there's no missed call.
Okay, let's scroll down. We're going to be running a piece in which we detail your interactions with people inquiring about your services and prices to evacuate people from Afghanistan. They've now told you.
Yeah,
I wanted to give you a chance to explain why they are so high. Would you prefer to answer questions by text or on the phone? Thank you. Right?
that's right.
Let's scroll down, please, Corey.
Oh, I want to point out that message was very different than what Katie Bowe was telling me.
He told you they're going to run a story about you.
Now it's about me.
Now you know.
Yes.
Okay. So now we're the next day at 5:53 p.m. Came in at 8:42, so 21 hours later or so.
That sounds right.
Okay, so in less than 24. Oh, sorry. Can you go back up, Corey? All the way up to the first message. Does Mr. Marcard tell you that they're about to publish a story tomorrow?
No, he doesn't.
Does he tell you there's a time sensitivity to this story?
He does not.
Does he tell you it's urgent?
No, he doesn't.
Does he give you a deadline by when to respond?
No, he doesn't.
Were you under the impression you had to respond right away?
Definitely not.
Okay.
In reading this, it's not in there.
So let's go to the next message. You respond nonetheless in less than 24 hours, right?
That's right.
Is that an acceptable turnaround time in your business?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you say, "Hi, Alexander. Please provide a list of questions as well as the facts and assertions about me you intend to publish. I will need some time to review and provide comment," right?
Yes, that's completely reasonable.
Took the question out of my mouth. Mr. Marcard says, "Thank you for responding. This piece is running this afternoon, D.C. time. That's why I reached out yesterday." Shame on you, Mr. Young, for not responding earlier. "I will send you my questions and deadlines ASAP," right?
That's right.
You respond back. "That's not a realistic deadline," right?
I write that 5 minutes later.
"I will need a few days to review and provide comment."
That's correct.
Why would you need a few days to review and provide comment?
I mean, now it seems this has turned into something serious. There's going to be a surprise CNN hit piece, we know, with me. So I wanted to have some reasonable time to at least defend myself and clarify, at least give my side of the story.
Do you want to talk to any professionals?
Of course, I would have wanted to talk to probably a few professionals.
Like who?
Lawyers and also people from my background, because now you've heard about my background yesterday. When you hear that a mega news entity like CNN is about to hit you with a surprise investigation report, you want to consult with a few people that can help you understand what's happening.
This moment you knew that if CNN said false things, your whole business could be in trouble.
More than my business. More than my business.
I'm sorry, I tried to reach out last week on LinkedIn. You did not accept my request. Did you get a request from Mr. Marquardt on LinkedIn, Zach?
No.
I called you last week and I texted you yesterday. Did he call you last week? Did you receive a call?
We just saw
I know you
the,
don't know what he did, but did you receive a call?
no. And we just saw the top of this chain on LinkedIn or on Signal. It shows when someone has made a call or if you've missed a call,
If it goes through.
if it goes through.
He texted you yesterday.
That's right.
That's right.
It is.
All to no avail. Right?
That's right.
I will let you know what the deadline is. He's going to let you know, right?
That's right.
It's his deadline, right?
He's the reporter.
He's the publisher?
He's the publisher.
Let's go to the next question, please. You provided some answers to my colleague, which we may use as well.
That's correct.
This is, can we scroll down for a minute? Down more, is that the end? That's the end, okay. So, there we go. 6:06 p.m. Austrian time. Can you do that conversion? If not, I can pull up Marquardt's version, and that'll give us the local time. Hold on.
This is the local time in Austria.
Right, I'm looking for local time in New York.
Okay. Should be 12:06.
12:06. You can do it in your head. Okay. So we'll see Mr. Marquardt's version anyways in a minute. Okay, so go up, please, again. So at 12:06, he tells you, I need your answers at the latest by 2 p.m. Eastern, right?
That's right. So less than 2 hours.
So, he said, so in 2 hours. A few minutes less than 2 hours.
That's right.
All right. 1 hour, 54 minutes.
That's correct.
Spot on 6 minutes? No. All right. Can you break down the extremely high prices for evacuations you're at? I have seen your conversations with others, charging $75,000 for a car to Peshawar, $14.5 for a flight to UAE, another $4K to get to Albania. Others involved in evacuations have said your prices are too high. So, question one, can you break them down? Do you want to talk to somebody about that before you answered it?
Of course not.
Did you want to talk to somebody besides Mr. Marquardt before you answered it?
Of course, I would have wanted to talk to somebody to get a better understanding of what's about to happen.
And how CNN might use the information?
Of course, I have no idea.
Are you making money off of this? If so, how do you justify profiting from Afghans desperate to get out?
That's what it says.
Okay. Were you profiting off of the Afghans?
Never.
Who were you taking money from?
Corporations. And CNN knew it.
Hear the judge say in the beginning of the case that you didn't take any money from Afghans?
It's already decided.
Okay. Did you want to talk to somebody before you figured out how to tell CNN that they're about to defame you?
Of course, I would have wanted to talk to somebody before answering any of these questions.
Do you want a lawyer to reach out to CNN and say, hey, don't do that?
That'd be a good idea.
Can we scroll down to the rest of the... Go a little bit. We intend to show a conversation with Jill Cornett. Get cut off. That's the woman we discussed yesterday, right?
It is.
Okay. Did you want to talk to somebody before they publish that stuff about you?
Of course.
All right. Question from Marquardt's goes on. I think we have more of it in Marquardt's version. Let's take a look. Give me 1 second. All right, while we work on that, let's do the rest of this, and then we'll get the rest done. So you then say that's definitely not a realistic deadline. What's not a realistic deadline?
The 1 hour and 54 minutes that he was offering.
In any case, I can tell you for sure, for sure, some of your facts / assertions are not accurate. And if they are published, I will seek legal damages.
Again, this is before talking to any lawyers, but that was on my mind.
Now you knew CNN was about to publish about you.
That's right.
And now you told them that if they go forward with their false news, their fake news, you were going to sue them, right?
That's what I said. Not in those words, but that was the message.
1 hour, 54 minutes before he told you they were going to go to air, right?
That's right.
Did they go to air?
They did.
Did they heed your advice?
No, they ignored it. They didn't even pump the brakes.
Did they care that you told them it was false?
No.
Okay.
Let's go down. Can you clarify which ones? Here are the figures presented by you. Some more screenshots. One, Corey. Can we go to 129? Sorry, 129, Ninja? Same conversation from Mr. Marquardt's side, right?
That's right. It says CNN at the bottom, so this came from them.
Okay. An outgoing call.
I still don't see where he made a call to me on their version.
Okay. Hey, Zachary. You mean because there'd be an outgoing call thing here?
Yeah, exactly.
It's not there?
Not there on his side either.
But he called you last week.
That's what he said.
Hey, Zachary, are you there? This is Alexander Marker from CNN. We read all this, right? Corey, we're just going to run through it. I just want to go to can you zoom back out? Not a realistic deadline. I tried to reach you. Let's go down. Here. We intend to show a conversation with Jill Kornetsky in which you tell her to fuck off after calling. Would you like to comment on that exchange?
That's what he said.
Do you want to talk to somebody before you responded?
Definitely.
What is your relationship with the CIA? You told one person you are a former case officer, told another that you are a current knock. Did you tell people that?
No, I didn't.
We intend to use this quote. We don't have any more, right?
We don't have any more than that.
Corey, is there more to this message on the next page? No. Okay. So, wait, go back up, Corey. So they also did an extension out, right?
That's right.
This is not, again, we saw the realistic deadline. Let's scroll down. He then sends you screenshots of all the different things, right?
Yes.
Now, Corey, can we zoom back out a little bit, please? So this is a, he includes down here the F off, right? The fuck off.
That's right.
Here's where you told Jill to.
That's right. He shows me the messages.
Did he put the messages in context?
No. He's zeroing in on.
He just pulled
Here's
out
the part.
the one you looked worst in, right?
That's right.
Okay, let's pull it back out. Scroll down. Here's where you said your former CIA. No. Can you scroll up, Corey? I'm a former agency CO. Did you say which agency?
I didn't say which agency.
You know how Mr. Marquardt knew that you were... You know why Mr. Marquardt was under the impression that you were former CIA?
I can't.
Section. Foundation.
Saying that, based on where we are, or what testimony we have thus far.
Understood. Let's scroll down. He says, so which assertions are not accurate? I'm not accusing you of scamming. He didn't publish that you were scamming, did he?
No, he didn't.
I'm simply pointing out, the prices are very high, and I'm providing you explanation that sponsors are expected and the environment is volatile.
That's right. Again, he's picking out little pieces that he likes.
I'm not going to say you're scamming, and I'm going to stick in somewhere that you said about sponsors, right?
But I'll use these little things that I like.
Zachary, any thoughts? Question mark? What was going on in your head now?
I mean, even looking at it now, it's starting to make me. I didn't like it. I see that.
Is that true?
It's not entirely true. I'd mentioned that I'd done some evacuations for Hero that included journalists. That was one of his real areas of focus. So I took some liberty in my wording to Katie Bolos.
And did you do some work for Bloomberg as well?
Yes.
Also journalists?
That Bloomberg is a massive media conglomerate.
Would it have been fair to say you were in regular contact with journalists?
Objection leading.
Sustained.
How regularly were you in contact with journalists?
Say again?
How often were you, how would you characterize your interaction with
Oh,
journalists?
I mean daily.
But not quite daily?
Not quite daily, but very frequently. I can't tell you how often. I mean, this was something that happened years ago. But again, Bloomberg, that's a media company. They have a lot of journalists that work for them.
All right, and then, sorry.
That's all.
Okay. And then it says, is CNN involved in rescue efforts and would they like to be? Right?
It does.
Okay. Seeing if they want to be a corporate sponsor, right?
That's right.
So can you scroll down? Katie Bo says, love to talk to you a little bit about your operations. They're a good number. You give her your phone number. You can be available later. Right?
That's right.
And then you followed up. At the end again is if you have requirements, which you might be able to set. Right?
Exactly.
Okay. Let's go now to the next step in that communication. Place Exhibit 120. Which is also an evidence round. Okay, so this is a signal. What is this between you and Katie Bolos?
This is a signal message between myself and Katie Bolos.
And do you see at the top here this clock with the 1 week?
I do.
What does that mean?
It means that Katie Bolilis has a self-destruct timer on her dialogue with me, which is why you're seeing my name at the bottom and not CNN.
Oh, can we actually take a look at that? Right. Okay. So let's jump back to the top of the message. So she writes, "Hey Kate, hey Zachary, Katie Bo here. I'm stuck covering some hearings. We can talk later." Right?
That's right.
You say, "Hi Katie. Unfortunately, I'll be tied up. We'll circle back. You have requirements, which I might be able to assist."
That's right. I was trying to be efficient. I was very busy, but I wanted to be available.
Straight to business.
Yep.
And so she writes back, "We're actually working on some reporting relating to ongoing efforts to help get at-risk Afghans out of the country. And your name came up in a couple of conversations we've had recently. So I was hoping to ask you a little bit about your operation."
I see that.
Did you understand her to be telling you that she was doing a story on you?
Objection leading.
Sustained.
What did you understand her question to be asking?
I took it at face value, regrettably. She's told me that she's working on my interpretation of this message is some general reporting about these evacuations, the various evacuations in Afghanistan. So she wanted background information for this general topic.
Okay, Corey, can we go, let's just slide up because this message is repeated again on the next page, but not cut off. Okay. So she responds back, excuse me, you respond back, "Yes, I have heard CNN was asking about me, which is why I connected. I thought perhaps you needed assistance rescuing Afghans. I'd rather not be named in any reporting." Did you think you could be clearer?
It's very clear as day.
So, she responds back, "Why don't we chat a little off the record, and I can give you a sense of what we're working on." You see that?
I do.
So she offered a phone call.
She did.
You say, "Sure, if you will agree, I won't be named in an article."
That's right.
Okay, so were you willing to talk to Katie Bolos?
Clearly, if she wanted, some unique perspective on the various options for evacuating out of a war zone or a failed state, I would have been happy to talk to her. But again, I'm a quiet professional, and I didn't want to be in, part of it.
She says, "I can't promise that in advance, unfortunately," right?
She does.
And then tries to get you to get back on the off-the-record comment, right?
She does.
Basically, I can't do that. All right, this next message, Corey, it's cut off and it's reproduced on the next page. Okay. She says it offers you the opportunity to understand what we're working on and make sure we have the story straight, and to make your case to keep your name out of it. You see that?
Yes.
What do you understand her to be telling you?
It says just exactly what you read, that they're working on a story. They want to make sure that they get the facts right. And And to make your case to keep your name out of it. So I'm starting to get a little suspicious at this point. I described my background yesterday. I'm pretty good at reading people, even if I'm not in front of them. So this seemed odd.
Sitting here today, do you think she was telling you the truth when she said they give you an opportunity to keep your name out of it?
No, I mean, sitting here today, we've gone through discovery. I've seen what was going on back at CNN before this happened. And in my opinion,
Objection.
Okay.
So then she says, I'm a straight shooter. Was she a straight shooter, Zach?
no, she was not a straight shooter.
I'll be frank with you about where we are. Was she frank with you about where she was?
Couldn't be less frank.
Why do you say that, Zach?
Again, now that I've had the benefit of discovery,
Objection. And if Your Honor would like a sidebar, I can explain it then.
Yeah, yeah. You ready?
We're not going to get into what you saw, Mr. Young. We're going to move on. So you say to her, what's the nature of the story beyond Afghan rescue? There are a lot of people involved in these efforts the past few months. What's your interest in me specifically? Right?
that's what it says.
And Miss, can we scroll down, Corey? And Cable Lillis dodges the question. Does Cable Lillis answer the question?
No, she keeps pushing for that phone call.
You found out to be a straight shooter?
No, it seems like to me, it feels like something is being hidden.
So you write back, if, I think you meant to write I'd. Okay, is that a typo?
It's a typo.
Okay, I'd rather understand why the interest in me specifically before we speak.
That's right. I mean, I think that's a reasonable inquiry. I'd like to be able to be efficient and give her, the information that would be helpful.
Were you being a straight shooter?
I was.
And then Corey, this message is reproduced that we've been doing in full. Oh, but actually, I forgot it's blocked. Can you go up 1 second so we can see what's under the date? We've been doing a series of stories, okay? Let's go down, Corey. We've been doing a series of stories on evacuations and the various different models folks are following to get people out. Do you see that?
I see it.
Did you understand her to be telling you about this? Just a generic story about different evacuation models?
I mean, that's
What did you understand her to be telling you about the nature of her story, Zach?
it's in the words on the screen. Various different models. It sounds to me like we're talking about background information, lay of the land.
Okay. And actually, she uses that word, doesn't she?
She does. I don't recall exactly when.
Understand you're working on
it's
them,
right in front of me.
too, and just want to talk about the lay of the land, right?
That's what she says.
Did she just want to talk about the lay of the land?
No, my feelings are she did not just want to talk about the lay of the land.
Was the story CNN published about generic evacuation models?
I don't feel that it was.
Was it about you operating in a black market?
I felt that it was.
So let's scroll down a little bit. Okay, I'd be happy to talk and help you understand what's actually been effective and what is not, but would still prefer to not be named in any article as a condition to talking with you. I know there are many of your attention, I'm not, right?
That's right. As I said, quiet professional.
Okay, so were you willing to talk to CNN?
Absolutely. I would have not continued to engage with her if I wasn't willing to.
Were you willing to explain to her the ins and outs of the evacuation business as you've been explaining to the jury?
If she was sincerely, and I had doubt at this point, interested in the general options and lay of the land, of course.
And what did you want? What's what you wanted? Did you want money in return?
I didn't ask for anything in return.
Oh, one thing.
Oh, except to not be named in the story.
So would you have educated Katie Bolilis if she agreed?
I would have been happy to.
Did she agree?
No,
Why not?
because that clearly was not the nature of her story. She was lying.
Objection. Move to strike.
Sustain. And jury is instructed not to, or to disregard the last statement Mr. Young made.
So, in the next message, also, FYI, in the past 24 hours, former sponsors have come forward requesting me to sign NDAs referencing CNN. Like me, they prefer discretion. You see that?
I do.
And who asked you to sign NDA?
Bloomberg did. Eduardo Janney did.
Is it common in the intelligence profession to kind of obfuscate on exactly who your clients' requests are?
I'm sorry, can you rephrase that?
Yeah. I mean, why did you say sponsors if it was just Bloomberg?
I mean, it's not just Bloomberg. I'm giving him as an example because he's the one who told me about CNN and then wanted an NDA. Clearly, I didn't move forward with the NDA. Usually those come at the beginning of a business relationship, not at the very end. So the request for the NDA put me off, and I was just emphasizing to Ms. Willis that discretion is part of this business, and it's not just me, it's in general.
And is part of discretion not, revealing which source and who exactly is making requests of you?
Of course, we talked about the need to know concept yesterday, and source protection, the same applies across the board.
So you say sponsors to keep it vague.
Correct.
Okay, I'm also aware of others who view our success as competition to their own models.
I said that.
Okay. And then, Corey, can we go to the next page? It's hard to imagine anyone competing in this environment. But some of these non-profits, you put in quotes, organized by total clowns who would otherwise be unemployed, have raised millions of donations to charter insanely expensive aircraft from their friends, and most don't even work out. You see that?
I do.
Did you touch on this concept yesterday?
I did. I talked about how, when you have a nonprofit raising millions of dollars for evacuations, and there's an aircraft that has a capacity of 150 people, and you have 30,000 names wanting to get on that aircraft, good luck. But you might have better chances playing the lottery, which is why I was focusing on corporations that wanted specific people. But I also mentioned that a lot of these efforts that I was aware of were totally ineffective. They spent the money on aircraft and couldn't even land.
And was you say insanely expensive aircraft from their friends, and most don't work out. That part, I want you to focus on that part. Were there operations that were just funneling donation money to charter companies?
You see, I keep putting nonprofit in quotes because nothing is free. Aircraft aren't free. And the UAE is a common place to set up these aircraft operations, and the people that actually do the charter and have the aircraft, they are not nonprofits. Nonprofits are using the donations to pay people a lot of money for this aircraft.
And then did they get them out?
I'm aware of several successes, and I'm aware of many more failures.
So did the people... Do you know if the charter companies kept the millions of dollars?
Of course, that's the way it works. When you charter an aircraft and they make plans with you instead of someone else, it's a sunk cost. You don't get a refund.
Was CNN's story about people ripping off charities?
No, it wasn't.
Let's go to the next message. Katie Willow says, that's part of what I hope to talk about, the price model. Our understanding is you're asking for $75,000 for a vehicle to Pakistan and around $15,000 for a single person to the UAE. That seems exorbitant for folks who clearly don't have that kind of money. See that?
I see that.
Were you listening to the judge reading the instructions in the beginning of the case?
Yes.
Do you remember what he said about the word exorbitant?
I do.
What did he say?
I think he said it's opinion.
Is Katie Willis injecting her opinions into your conversation?
She is, and she's, I understand she's a layperson, and that seems high to a journalist sitting in Washington, D.C.
Did she approve of your work?
It doesn't read to me that way, no.
And then let's go to the next message. Pricing, you know what, this is cut off, so let's go to the next one. I think it's reproduced in full in the next. There we go. Pricing always depends on local resource availability, at a given time in a highly unstable environment. No Afghan is expected to pay for evac costs. None would ever be able. What did you mean by that, Zach?
I meant exactly what I said. It's not for Afghans. Even if they had the money, it couldn't have been for Afghans. And it's an unstable environment, which it seems like that doesn't need to be explained if you know anything about Afghanistan. But I took the time to try to, educate her a little. It's an unstable environment and it's highly volatile.
Corey, can you take the highlight off the first part of the sentence? Let's just leave no Afghan is expected to pay for evac costs. None would ever be able. Highlight it for a minute. Zach, could you have been clearer about who you were working with?
I don't think so.
In fact, you go on. Rather, we've focused on aligning corporate sponsors who have the resources to support with those Afghans most in need to kill this variety. Right?
Correct, and this goes back to what I just said. You have an aircraft that can take 150 people, but you have 30,000 on it that are all saying, I'm about to be killed, without being able to vet that.
Zach, I want you to focus on the words on the page here. Mm-hmm. Could you have been clearer to CNN about who you were working with?
No.
Could you have been clearer to CNN about who you expected to pay?
No.
Could you have been clearer to CNN about whether or not Afghans could afford to pay for evacuations?
No, they couldn't. And I told her.
Did she listen?
No.
Let's go to the next message, please. When we can ensure delivery for less, we do, but it always depends on the local environment, which is dynamic and incredibly challenging. Is that a true statement?
It's a true statement.
So I think this is cut off. Let's go to the next message. So I'm looking at some text exchanges with a potential evac case. So you ask if he has a sponsor to cover the $15,000 cost. When he didn't, it looks like... Pause there for a second, Zach. I think we looked at that one, right?
We did.
That's the one where you blocked the guy?
Correct.
So, did you believe at this moment that CNN was aware of exactly what had happened?
It sounds like she is.
Okay. You did not engage?
No, I didn't.
Then she says, that's not exactly lining up sponsors, right?
Correct.
Not quite what you said. You said aligning corporate sponsors, right?
I said aligning. I mean, aligning me means I'm trying to find corporations that want to do evacuations. Lining them up.
Was Katie Willis injecting her opinions here again?
She is.
Can you point to some cases where you've successfully connected a sponsor and an evac case? Some other folks engaged in this kind of work we spoke to have characterized your prices as inflated. Do you know who she's referring to?
I do.
Who?
I mean, she's talking about people like the activist and maybe others.
So I want to understand if this is a for-profit model for non-understanding, right?
That's right.
Looks like this message, you had to click read more. So do you remember what was under it?
I don't.
All right, we'll leave it with the recent oh, this is cut off. Let's go down. We'll leave it with the recent sponsors to whom you have already reached out to decide if they would like to provide comment. I hope they do, but I will honor their wishes with or without NDA. Right?
I see that.
So you told Katie Willis to contact who?
Bloomberg told me about this, so I'm telling her to go back to Bloomberg and ask them if they would like to have a call with Katie Willis. And I would maintain professionalism, with or without the NDA. It wouldn't be appropriate.
We're not in any rush.
That's what she says.
Did you think CNN was going to give you 2 hours?
She says she's not in a rush, so that's what I took it as. Not, you have 2 hours.
Did you think there was any urgent story that was coming out about you on November 3rd?
I would have had no way to know that.
She says, getting it right is why I'm talking to you.
That's what she said.
She was a straight shooter.
That's what she said.
Was she?
No.
Let me rephrase this question. Can you explain why it costs $75,000 for a single dealer to get into Pakistan or $15,000 to UAE? How does the math work? She's back up her questions about costs.
She is.
You respond back. No, I can't, because I'm not on the ground and don't understand the challenges. When I find options that works, I try to find candidates. Scroll down. And you sent a bunch of screenshots to her.
I did.
You say, I do quite well. Can we magnify this screenshot? So, do you know what we're looking at?
I do.
What is this?
It's a bit blurry, but it's a screenshot between me and someone named Ken McCoy.
And what is this on the top, this picture here? It says Ahmed Zubair Nouri. What is that?
That's an Afghan name, and it looks like it is a general contracting identification badge. So I assumed he was probably at some point working for a defense contractor. It's in English, and he's Afghan.
So you say anything you can do for this guy.
That's right.
Why are you reaching out to McCoy?
Well, because this person was already in Pakistan, and he was already part of the government process called the SIV, the Special Interest Visa. It's a long process, but it tells me that this is a person who's already in the official process. He's already met the standards for potential resettlement to the U.S., which isn't something that I was involved in. That's a government function. I'm not a government, so I referred him to Ken McCoy, who I understand is a former intelligence officer for the Department of Defense and was very much connected to the official State Department side of this.
Were you trying to help Ahmed Zubair Nouri?
I was.
What does Mr. McCoy say? If he's in Peshawar, there is a U.S. consulate nearby. He should go to Post 1, USMC, and ask to speak with Consular Affairs if he has an NVCIV number, and so on, right? I know that we need to spend time on that. But Mr. McCoy provided feedback for Mr. Nouri?
Good feedback.
And did you put them in touch? Did CNN report on your efforts to try to help some Afghans?
They had it, clearly.
Did they report on it?
No.
They were tough but fair?
If they say so.
One second, Mr. Young. Can we bring, I think, exhibit 115 up where I think it's been.
115 admitted. Check. It's 115.
Hold on until the judge confirms.
Okay. Yeah. I was just concerned because you said, I think it's admitted.
You know, we rely on a lot of this. I'm up here talking, Judge, but there's a lot of people behind me, you know.
I just want to make sure.
Can we zoom in on this conversation? All right. Oh, okay. I might be able to do that. Okay, there's one I can't. You know what? I think it's backwards. This. So go to the. I think they come in backwards in reverse chronological order. Yeah, let's go in there. Okay, Zach. First of all, do you recognize these messages?
No, I don't.
Okay. Well, and that's the case. We'll take them down. All right. Let's go back to the Katie Willil's conversation. We were looking at this in Exhibit 120. Thank you. And is that the end of it, or does it keep going? Whether they have a sponsor behind them or not, I'm sure whoever brought me to your attention knows that and has their own motivation for promoting slander. Do you warn Katie Willis that she's being misled?
Yeah, and like I said, I like to think I have fairly good instincts, and clearly there's something else going on.
Please make sure you have your facts aligned before taking a few text messages and running with it.
That was good advice.
Did she follow your good advice?
No, she didn't.
Okay, this ends, but we have more of that conversation and less of that conversation from CNN. Let's go at Exhibit 136, please. That is in evidence, Judge. And this is produced by CNN. See at the bottom left, CNN 00053.
That's right, yes.
All right. So, odd. These aren't screenshots like yours. This is a photo of a phone, right?
A phone with looks like a broken screen.
Yeah, or broken screen protector.
Or that.
Yeah. Oh, can you zoom out for a second, Corey? Now, this is a lot of the conversation. And so this is produced by CNN, and this is a lot of the conversation. It's missing some at the top, right?
It is.
And she has your name saved as Zach, right?
She does.
And then it says, okay, I'd be happy to help you understand what's actually been effective. We've been through this, right?
Yep, same stuff.
Scroll down, please, Corey, to the next page. We're happy to talk. We've seen this. Former sponsors have come forward. We've seen this. Keep going. It's hard to imagine anyone competing. We've seen this. And now wait, hold on, Corey. Go back up a second. We had more of the conversation, right?
We did.
Yeah. She doesn't have it, right?
No, because she had the self-destruct.
Well, I mean, I don't know. She's not.
Maybe that's it.
Yeah. Let's not speculate.
Okay.
But there's missing, right?
So, yeah.
Okay, let's go to the bottom page. This one we haven't seen before, and there's a message above it that you recall what you said in that message above?
No.
CNN didn't produce it too?
No, they didn't.
You actually wrote, correct?
No, that's not accurate the way you worded it.
You deleted your LinkedIn post that you wrote, correct?
I did.
Right. There you go. All right. So we're jumping ahead to and I think you testified about this yesterday, your conversation over Signal with Katie Willis. You recall that?
I do.
Okay. And so is it true that you reached out to Katie Willis before she ever reached out to you, correct?
That's right.
And you asked her to connect on LinkedIn, correct?
Yep.
And you had reached out to her because you had heard that CNN had contacted Bloomberg about you, correct?
That's right.
And then once Ms. Willis agreed to connect with you, you began communicating over Signal?
Yes.
All right. So let's do this. Put up PX 122, which is already in evidence. All right. Keep going down. I'll describe the entire thing. Yeah. Yeah. Just so we don't have to come back to it, G. Thanks. All right. So this is your first reach out, and now you're ZY on LinkedIn. Do you know why you're ZY?
No.
Okay. Was that a change you made?
I had to have.
Okay. Hi, Katie. Nice to connect. Please let me know if I can assist with any Afghan evac requirements. I get requests from journalists stuck in country on a daily basis. Is CNN involved in rescue efforts, or would they like to be? Did I read that correctly?
You did.
And you told Ms. Willis you get requests from journalists stuck in country on a daily basis. That wasn't true, was it?
I had been working for journalists, just not directly and not on a daily basis.
Right. So the statement that you wrote, that you led off with, I get requests from journalists stuck in country on a daily basis, that was not true, was it?
Yeah, that's true.
It's true that that was not true, correct?
Yes.
In fact, you can't name one journalist who reached out to you for evacuation services, can you?
A specific journalist?
Yeah.
Didn't know.
Have you ever been reached out directly by a journalist for evacuation services?
No.
So you certainly didn't get daily reach outs, did you?
No, not literally.
So that was a lie, correct?
I wouldn't call it a lie.
A fib? A white lie? What would you call it?
I would call it an exaggeration.
Okay. You then write, then Ms. Lewis writes, hi Zachary, good to connect. would love to talk to you a little bit about your operation. Is there a good number to get you? You say, sure, I'm at a number, and that's a number on Signal, correct?
Yes.
Can be available in 1 hour if that works for you. And then you follow up. 20 minutes later, she doesn't respond. You have requirements with which I might be able to assist. So again, you're asking her, can I do some work for CNN, right?
That's what I was hoping.
That's what you're hoping. Okay. You take that down, Mr. DeMezza, and put up the PX120. It's already in evidence. All right. And so again, I think you testified that this was a document you produced, correct?
Yes, this one.
So again, you deleted the post that you wrote on LinkedIn, but in this state of panic, you screenshot your communications with Katie Bowe, correct?
Yes.
Because you knew you would want those if you were going to sue CNN, correct?
No.
Okay. Katie Bowe writes, hey Zachary, Katie Bowe here. I'm stuck covering some hearings for a couple of hours. Could you chat at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time in 3 hours? You respond at 2:26, and I think you said yesterday that this was off-screen time?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, Katie. Unfortunately, I would be tied up for most of the day from that time, but can we circle back tomorrow or Friday? Then you immediately respond, do you have requirements with which I might be able to assist? So you're pretty eager to see if you can do some work,
I
correct?
would have loved to for CNN, yeah.
And then Katie says, we're actually working on some reporting related to ongoing efforts to help get at-risk Afghans out of the country, and your name came up in a couple conversations we had recently. So I was hoping to ask you a little bit about your operation. You see that?
I do.
You respond. I think we can go to the next page. So she sends that at 2:43. You respond 3 minutes later at 2:46. I guess you had time to talk now. Yes, I have heard CNN was asking about me, which is why I connected. I thought perhaps you needed assistance rescuing Afghans. I'd rather not be named in any reporting. And that's what you wrote, correct?
Yes.
Ms. Lillis responds, why don't we chat a little off the record and I can give you a sense of what we're working on, right?
Yep.
And so fair to say, she was saying, jump on the phone with me and I'll tell you what I'm working on, right? That's what she said to you.
Yeah. I mean, at the time, I wasn't really aware of what off the record, on the record means. I just didn't understand it.
Right, but she says, why don't we chat? And chat means have a phone call, right?
That's right.
Right. So she was asking, will you jump on the phone with me, right?
She was.
And you say, sure, if you all agree, I won't be named in any article. Do you see that?
I do.
Right. And you said you don't want any media attention, correct?
That's right.
At this time, you were, so this is November 3rd of 2021, correct?
Yes.
And as we saw from the Jill Kornetsky exchange, you had been kind of on LinkedIn offering evacuation services for about 2 months and change at this point, correct?
That's right.
Right. Posting about evacuation services with your picture, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And fair to say, I mean, maybe you don't know this. Did you know that Afghanistan evacuation stories were getting media attention?
I don't recall it. I assume so.
Yeah. You knew that the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan was a big story.
Oh, yeah.
And you knew that the U.S. media was covering it because they had all those horrible videos at the Kabul airport, right?
Yeah, I've seen that video.
Right.
Yep.
But you knew this was like a pretty big story in the United States, right? The Afghan withdrawal?
Yes.
Okay. Fair to say that you knew that by advertising on LinkedIn, you knew that those posts could get attention, right?
Within my network, yes.
So you think just within your network?
That was my intention. Yeah.
Well, I'm not asking about your attention, sir.
Okay.
I'm asking about your knowledge. Wasn't it fair to say that by posting about Afghan evacuations, you knew that those posts could get some attention? They're out in the public, right?
No, they're not.
They're not. Okay. You didn't agree to speak to Katie Bowe-Willis, correct?
I offered to Under a condition.
as long as she wouldn't name you.
Yep.
And she says, I can't promise that in advance, unfortunately, but if you do agree to speak off the record, she says that guarantees that any reporting we have won't reflect that you spoke to us, right? So she's making a pitch. You talk to me, and we won't include what you're telling us. Our reporting won't reflect that you spoke to us. You see that?
Yes.
Okay. And she says it offers you the opportunity to understand what we're working on and make sure we have the story straight, and to make your case to keep your name out of it. I'm a straight shooter. I'll be frank with you about where we are, right? That's what she did. That's what she wrote to you, correct?
Yes, correct.
So she was offering to you the chance to get on the phone, hear about what CNN was working on, make sure they have the story straight, give you the chance to make your case to keep your name out of it, and you did not take her up on that offer, right?
That's correct.
Right. You respond. You don't jump on the phone and say you respond. 2 minutes later, what's the nature of the story beyond Afghan rescue? There are a lot of people involved in these efforts the past month. What's your interest in me specifically? Right?
That's right. I'm getting suspicious.
You're getting suspicious, right? At this point, you're like,
What's going on?
she's asking, there might be questions about me, right? Because she told you right off the bat that she can't guarantee you that your name won't be in the story, right?
She said that.
Right. And she says again, let's speak on the phone tomorrow. I can run you through all of that, right? She's again offering to get on the phone with you, right?
I didn't trust her, but she offered that.
Okay. She offered to get on the phone with you, correct?
She said that, yes.
And you didn't take her up on that offer, did you?
No, I didn't.
Okay. You then write, I think it'd probably be I'd rather understand why the interest in me specifically before we speak. Okay?
Yep.
So you write that. She responds. We've been doing a series of stories on evacuations and the various different models folks are following to get people out. Understand you're working on them too, and just want to talk about the lay of the land. You see that?
I do.
And you say, okay, I'd be happy to talk and help to understand what's actually been effective and what has not, but still would prefer not to be named in any article as a condition of talking with you. I know many people out there adore the attention, but I'm not one of them. So again, you're making the offer. I'll talk to you, but you need to guarantee me you're not going to name me, right?
That's right.
And she doesn't agree to that, right?
She doesn't.
Right. Then you're right. Also, FYI, in the past 24 hours, former sponsors we have helped have come forward requesting me to sign NDAs referencing CNN. Like me, they prefer discretion. You see that?
I do.
You tell her that sponsors had come forward, sponsors with a plural had come forward requesting NDAs.
I do.
That wasn't true, was it?
That was a typo. Sponsor, singular.
Sponsor.
Yeah,
You meant to say sponsor, but you wrote sponsors.
Yeah, it wasn't precise.
Just a typo. But the last line, I'm a little bit confused, Mr. Young. The last line of that test says, like me, they prefer discretion. Mm-hmm. Now, if you were talking about one sponsor, that would be it. They is plural, isn't it?
Right. I mean, like Bloomberg's a huge company. I know
Okay.
Mike himself was personally involved, the chief security officer, so there's a lot of people that were involved in the sponsor side.
Okay. So it's your testimony under oath for this jury that when you wrote sponsors have come forward requesting you to sign NDAs, that was a typo. You meant just to say sponsor.
That's right. I was referring to Bloomberg.
So your sentence was supposed to be, in the past 24 hours, former sponsor we have helped have come forward.
Yeah, it wasn't precise.
Okay. Now, at this point, you're right. I'm also aware of others who view our success as competition to their own models. Do you see that?
I do.
And so, is it fair to say that at this point, you had suspected that either Ms. Kornetsky or Mr. Daniels or Mr. Lerner had spoken to CNN?
I wouldn't word it that way. It seemed like somebody must have given her some kind of false information.
Well, by this point, you knew that you had the situation with Kornetsky, correct?
Yeah.
And by this point, I don't know exactly when the Lerner, actually, you must have already had the conversation with Lerner, correct, too?
I think so.
Right. So by this point, you had had some kind of antagonistic interactions on LinkedIn, correct?
Yes.
Right. So you knew there was at least 2 people out there, and maybe including Daniels, 3, who you knew weren't really crazy about what you were doing.
Yes.
Then you go on to say, it's hard to imagine anyone, quote, unquote, competing in this environment, but some of these nonprofits organized by total clowns who would otherwise be unemployed. What are you talking about when you're calling people total clowns who would otherwise be unemployed?
Some of these groups were very effective. Others were not. Others, we had a lot of people like Mr. Daniels and others that really wanted to be involved. They wanted to help. They just didn't have a background to do it, and they didn't have any real understanding. They'd been watching too many movies and didn't really understand the true nature of doing something like this.
Was Mr. Daniels organizing a nonprofit?
I don't know what he was doing. I know he was
You
very-
just, I'm sorry, I cut you off.
Let him finish.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot about what he was doing, but clearly he didn't have any real background in evacuations.
But you just brought up his name in response to my question about total clowns
Yeah.
organizing nonprofits. Who are you talking about, these nonprofits organized by total clowns?
No one specifically, just people like Daniels and others that were really trying to get involved. Their heart was in the right place, but they didn't have a real firm understanding of reality and the background to do anything helpful, to be honest.
You're saying they're organized by total clowns who would otherwise be unemployed. It's pretty critical, right?
Sure.
Right. But it's your opinion, right?
Yeah.
Right. And you're in Austria, but you're still an American. We're free to have opinions, aren't we?
Everybody's free to have an opinion.
Everybody is. That's what's great about this country. And you can't name me the people that you're referring to as total clowns who would otherwise be unemployed, can you?
No, it was a general statement.
Okay. And again, you're saying they have raised millions of dollars in donations to charter insanely expensive aircraft from their friends, and most don't even work out. What are you saying there?
Exactly what it says, that some of these groups raise a lot of money. This is an issue that was very easy to want to get involved in and help, and I understand why. But many of them were completely wasting all this money they'd raised. They were trying to charter these aircraft that weren't able to land in Afghanistan. They just didn't know enough about it. So they were trying, but not effective at all. That's what I mean.
Okay. And Katie Bo says, that's part of what I hope to talk about, the price model. Our understanding is you're asking for $75K for a vehicle to Pakistan and around $15K for a single person to the UAE. That was true, right? That's what you were offering.
True.
Right. At this point, right, you have to know Katie Bo's asking about you, right?
Definitely.
Right. You have to know. And this is November 3rd. This is 8 days before publication, correct?
Yes.
Right. She then says, that seems exorbitant for folks who clearly don't have that kind of money, correct?
Yes.
That's what she says. And what she's saying when she says folks who clearly don't have that kind of money, she's talking about Afghans, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Correct.
$15,000 for a single person to the UAE is exorbitant for an Afghan who doesn't have that kind of money, isn't it?
Yes.
Absolutely. Then you then respond. Go on to the next page. I think the full message is there. Pricing always depends on local resource availability at any given time in a highly unstable environment. No Afghan is expected to pay for evac costs. None would ever be able. So you're agreeing with her, right, that $15K would be way more than any Afghan could ever afford.
Yes.
It would be exorbitant for an Afghan.
Yes.
Okay. Rather, we're focused on aligning corporate sponsors who have resources to support with those Afghans most in need of the the kill list variety. You see that?
I do.
Isn't it true that your pricing actually didn't depend on local resource availability at all?
No, that's not true.
It's not true?
No.
Isn't it true? Let me just read this again. Your pricing actually didn't depend on local resource availability, did it?
Not only that, no.
Your Honor, I'd like to go to 825. line 1 through 3.
Did you say line 8?
I said 825, line 1 through 3.
Sorry. I mean, we're fine with Your Honor.
I don't have it, but go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Young, you remember sitting for a deposition, correct?
Yes.
If you look at line 1, you were asked, but your pricing actually didn't depend on local resource availability, did it? And what was your answer?
No.
And your pricing was actually sending money to Yuri, however much money he told you, correct?
Can you rephrase the question?
Right. When you would do individual evacuations, you didn't know how Yuri was spending the money, correct?
That's right, correct.
He would just tell you, send me X amount of dollars, and you would do it, right?
Yes.
Then you write, we're focused on aligning corporate sponsors who have the resources to support with those Afghans most in need, the kill list variety. That wasn't true, was it?
That was true.
Sir, you never aligned any corporate sponsors with anyone on a kill list, correct?
Sure I did.
You actually didn't align corporate sponsors with individual Afghans, did you?
I aligned corporations who wanted to evacuate specific Afghans, aligned them for the purposes of my business.
My question is this. You actually didn't align corporate sponsors with individual Afghans, correct?
I'm confused by the question.
Sir, your model,
Do you mean connect them with?
well, this is your words.
Yeah.
You said, we focused on aligning corporate sponsors who have the resources to support with those Afghans most in need, the kill list right. What you were actually doing was corporations would contact you and say, we need to evacuate 3 identified people, correct?
That's right.
You weren't finding anyone on kill lists, were you?
No, I wasn't going out and finding them. But they
You
were.
weren't connecting sponsors with people most in need, were you?
No.
You never aligned any Afghan in need with a sponsor, did you?
No.
So that statement, your statement about what you were focused on was inaccurate, right? Correct? No?
No.
You did not actually line up or align a sponsor with a single evacuee, did you?
I aligned corporations for my business, and these corporations were wanting to get specific Afghans out. Maybe I worded it poorly. But
In each of the evacuations you performed, the clients identified the evacuees, correct?
yes,
You never identified anyone, correct?
that's right.
Keep going. Oh, then you say, when we can ensure delivery for less, we do, but it always depends on the local environment, which is dynamic and incredibly challenging. There. Let's keep going down. Go to the next page. And so Ms. Lewis writes to you, so I'm looking at some text exchanges with a potential evac case who you asked if he has a sponsor to cover the $15K cost, and when he didn't, it looks like you ended the engagement. That's not exactly lining up sponsors. Can you point me to some cases where you've successfully connected a sponsor in an evac case? She writes that to you, correct?
Correct.
You understand what she's asking you, right?
Now I do, yes.
You did that?
I can't. This was a long time ago. I'm interpreting the.
Yeah, you didn't understand her back then when you said, can you point me to some cases where you've successfully connected a sponsor in an evac case?
No, I understood.
Okay,
It's clear.
right. She then says, some other folks engaged in this kind of work we have spoke to have characterized your prices as inflated. So I want to understand if this is a for-profit model or if we're not understanding the X, and then we can't get the rest. And you never gave her an example of connecting a sponsor with someone in need, correct?
Correct.
Because there was no example, correct?
Correct.
You had never done such an alignment, correct?
Correct.
You then write, we'll leave it with the recent sponsor. Thank you, G. We'll leave it with the recent sponsors to whom you have already reached out to decide if they would like to provide comment. Is this another typo, or did you mean to write sponsors here?
No, I didn't know who else they reached out to. I knew they reached out to Bloomberg.
So you were choosing to use sponsors because you just kind of guessed that they had reached out to other people?
I don't know why they wouldn't.
But you only knew about Bloomberg, right?
I only knew about Bloomberg. That's right.
I hope they do, but I will honor their wishes with or without NDA.
That's correct.
And again, let's just kind of test your sponsor typo. You had only had one sponsor ask you to sign an NDA, correct?
Yes.
But here you say, I hope they do. I will honor their wishes, right? You're talking about multiple sponsors, correct?
That's right.
And then Ms. Lillis says, we're not in any rush. This was November 3rd, correct?
Yes.
The article wasn't published November 11th. Getting it right, or the segment wasn't published until November 11th. Getting it right is why I'm talking to you. And she says, let me rephrase this question. Can you explain why it costs $75,000 for a single vehicle to get to Pakistan or $15K to UAE? How does the math work, right?
Yes.
Yeah, she's asking you to explain the math, right?
She is.
And you actually had never gotten anyone to the UAE, correct?
That's correct.
But 5 people in a car for $75K, that was something similar to what you had done, correct?
Yes.
And you know how the math worked, right?
No.